Hello, Internet, and welcome to Take Notes, hosted by yours truly, Kat, a creative little silly freshman who plays percussion in their school band. As a percussionist, or a player of any instrument really, I needed to learn how to read music in order to play it. Yes, if you didn't know, music can not only be heard, but it can also be written and read as well, so other people than the composer, aka the maker of the music, can play it. On the first and only episode of this podcast, we'll be covering the origins and, of course, the fundamentals of reading sheet music, including the parts of the staff, other important symbols, notes, and rhythms, as well as the significance of scores. This little simple how-to on reading sheet music will be a fun one, so you better take notes! Woo! First up, we have to cover the origins of sheet music, so you, dear listener, can have a better understanding of why and how it exists in the first place. It might seem boring, but please don't fall asleep. According to a brief history of musical notation, forms of music notation have been identified in the archaeological remains of ancient Mesopotamian, Chinese, Greek, and other civilizations. But the first semblance of modern written music seen today started in the 9th century in the form of little reminder markings called neumes above the written chants that were sung in churches. In the 10th century, the markings had become increasingly complex, so they saw it was necessary to add a horizontal line through them as a pitch reference. Soon, it was needed to add another, and yet another line. By the 15th century, the staff of 5 lines had become established as a standard notation for music, which evolved into the stuff you see today. Speaking of the staff, you might be wondering, what even is that? Or, I thought we were learning how to read sheet music! Well, don't worry about that, because I was just getting to that part. Be patient! You guys and your short attention spans. So, this is the staff. It has 5 lines and 4 spaces. Notes are placed on these lines and spaces, but sometimes if the note goes off the staff, we add an extra line above or below called a ledger line. The higher or lower we go, the more ledger lines we'll add. On the left, we have a clef. According to reading music common notation, the first symbol that appears at the beginning of every music staff is a clef symbol. It is very important because it tells you which note is found on each line or space. There are 2 main clefs, the treble clef, the high one, and the bass clef, the low one. These 2 clefs are connected together by a middle note called C. Why is the note called that, you may ask? I'll tell you later. Sometimes there's a key signature right after the clef, which tells you the key of the music you're playing. We'll get to that later. After that, there's the time signature, which in simple terms tells you how many beats are in a measure, and what type of note gets the beat. Measures, also called bars, are segments of time in music, and are separated by bar lines. Different types of bar lines include a double bar line, which means to stop, and a repeat bar line, which means, well, repeat that section. Like most reading systems, you read music from left to right. Moving on, there may have been some things that I might have missed, so here's the fun part. These are some other symbols that would be helpful to know in the form of a speed round. Go! Dynamics, represented by letters like F and P underneath the staff, and tell you how loud or soft to play. If you've added an M right before any of those layers, play somewhere in the middle. Crescendo, looks like a lesson symbol positioned underneath the staff, and it means gradually play louder. Decrescendo, does the opposite of crescendo. Accent, looks like a tiny greater than sign above the note. Play the note loud, then immediately back off. Repeat measure, looks like a division sign. Repeat the last measure before proceeding. Common time, a big C where the time signature is. Play 4/4 time. Cut time, looks like common time, but with a line down the middle. Play 2/2 time. Fermata, play or rest more than the length written, or until the director says to stop. And that's pretty much the end of the speed round. Those last ones might have had you confused, but they will all be explained in the next section. Remember all those times I said, we'll get to that later? This is the later. Most people know notes by the solfege names, like do, re, mi, etc. But what if I told you that most musicians don't use those names? Instead, the notes are given different letter names, like A to G. A fast way to remember where the notes go is a mnemonic, a little reminder phrase. In a treble clef, any note on the staff lines from bottom to top goes in the order E, G, B, D, and F. A phrase I like to use to remember this is every good band does fine. In the spaces from bottom to top, they are F, A, C, and E. You'll notice that they spell face. In a bass clef, the notes on the lines from bottom to top are G, B, D, F, and A. A phrase for this is, good bands do fine always. In the spaces from bottom to top, the notes are A, C, E, and G. You could say, all cows eat grass for this one. Only the head, aka the oval part, of the note tells you what pitch it is. These 7 letters make up all the white keys on a piano, also known as natural notes, in an octave. Most natural notes are a whole step up from each other. Some aren't, like B to C and E to F, which are a half step up from each other. Then we have the black keys, also called accidentals. These are always between 2 whole step notes, a half step above or below the natural note. A half step up is called a sharp, represented by a hashtag-looking symbol, and a half step below is called a flat, represented by this weird-looking lowercase b thing. Yeah, a lot of times, one note can have multiple names. For example, B flat can also be called A sharp. E can also be called F flat. They're the same note. This is called an enharmonic. Remember when I talked about key signatures? Well, in the key signature, you can see either sharps or flats in the lines or spaces. They last for the whole piece, or until it changes. But what about the time signature? Each note has its assigned pitch, but what about their duration? That's why some notes look different from others, because they have different lengths. There are whole notes, which take up all of the measure, and there are half notes, which take up half of the measure, and so on. In a common 4/4 time signature, there are 4 beats in a measure, and a quarter note represents the beat. The note values work the same as fractions do, splitting the measure into parts. Every type of note is always half the length of the previous. For example, a 16th note is half the value of an 8th note. Honorable mention: the heavy-demi semiquaver, or the 64th note, is the shortest note actually used, though it's pretty rare. Are you wondering how to tell the types of notes apart? Well, first we have to understand note anatomy. There's the head of the note, or that oval thing that the stem of the note connects to. It can be either hollow or filled in. Only whole and half notes are hollow. There's the stem, the line that connects to the head. Then there's the flag, the squiggle that comes off the end of the stem, opposite of the head. These flags can connect together into beams, so it's easier to read. Only 8th notes and onwards have flags and beams, and the shorter the note value is, the more flags or beams you'll add. There are also ties, which are these arches that connect notes together. They work essentially like addition symbols in math. There are also dotted notes, which are 1.5 the length of the original note. Wait. Shh! Did you hear that? Of course you didn't! It's a rest, which works the same way as normal note values, except you don't play anything. You're resting. They look different though, and I'm not sure how to describe them. That's all I have on rhythm. You may be wondering, why even learn sheet music in the first place? What's the use if I could just search up a tutorial on how to play this song on YouTube? It seems much easier to do that, and honestly, it sort of is. And you could settle for that, but you also need to remember, we didn't always have the internet, so music had to be physically documented for people to remember. It's the way music has been documented for thousands of years, and it's also a work of art. Even though there are electronic alternatives to sheet music, it's not always accessible. Without sheet music, it would be very difficult to accurately reproduce the song originally composed, and everyone would have to do it just by listening, which is harder than you think. Plus, it's a pretty neat skill to have, in case you ever want to join band or something that involves sheet music. You can even impress your peers, who knows? Even so, the choice is yours. This is Kat, reminding you to have a stellar day, and to always remember, take notes! Okay. Yay.